All right, folks, I finally am able to share with you the full story about what happened with the mini mansion. And the fact of the matter is, I couldn't because this situation was ongoing for quite some time. The short of it is I almost could have gotten sued. What is going on with my computer? It's keep glitching out. I almost could have gotten sued behind this. And I don't want you to go thinking, oh, Joe, you big dummy, you're always falling into these stupid situations. Yeah, sometimes I am. So maybe there is some truth to that. But here's what happened. You'll remember that we did the inspection and the inspection cost $500. And I was like, okay, well, hey, the inspection showcased that this property is crumbling to the ground, hence the fact that I don't want to buy it. And as a buyer, it is my due diligence to be able to say that the inspection is enough for me to realize I don't want to buy this property. When you enter into a purchase agreement, which I had entered into a purchase agreement to buy the mini mansion, I was serious and also a little pressured, but we'll get to that. When I entered into the purchase agreement, I've bought and sold a few different houses, so I know like how a purchase agreement goes, but I also know that there are 3 different ways that a buyer is able to get out of a contract without any recourse. And little did I know what recourse meant. I do now. It means that you can be sued for damages. And we will get to that in a minute as well. There's 3 different ways that a buyer can get out of a contract once they've signed a purchase agreement. The inspection can showcase some stuff that is just beyond what they want to take on. Repairs. You do an inspection and the inspection showcases a bunch of stuff that needs to be fixed and the seller's not willing to budge. They don't want to repair what you're requesting to be repaired. And then the final thing, I may be off. There may be something else because the way that I just mentioned inspection, that could be just, oh wait, no, I am off. Because I mentioned 2 different things in relation to the inspection. The inspection comes up, some stuff is seen that needs to be repaired. The seller's not willing to fix those repairs. That's the first way that you can get out. The second way is the appraisal. If the house is listed for $200,000 and the house appraises for $150,000, well then, if the seller's not willing to sell you that house for $150,000, well, you can get out of the agreement that way too. And then the third way, and this is a crazy way, HOA, homeowner association. And this is the last thing that a buyer gets in relation to purchasing a home, and that is the HOA document. So let's say you're buying a house and it's in a neighborhood with condo fees and an association fee or something like, it's got fees. And you see those fees and you say, man, I'm not paying $4,000 a year in condo fees or homeowner association fees. You can get out of a contract that way too. So those are the 3 ways you can get out: with the inspection, with the appraisal, and with the HOA thing. When I did the inspection on the mini mansion, I was fully feeling like, hey, I'm getting out of this thing because this disclosed way more than I knew. And I knew that there was a lot that needed to be done, but the inspection just solidified the fact that this shit was damn near falling to the ground. So I say that I'm out of the deal. Now, I've already submitted a $1,000 earnest money deposit, and I've already signed this purchase agreement that I say that I was a little pressured into. And what I mean by that was I was getting somewhat hounded on this purchase agreement. It was sent to my inbox 3 times in 2 days. Like, boom. It just felt like they kept sending me this thing, and I was trying to be hesitant on getting this thing signed because I wanted to get this inspection done. And I was still trying to figure out who and when I could get the inspection to take place. I would end up signing the purchase agreement on a verbal agreement between me and the wholesaler young guy, which was that I could get the inspection done, and if the inspection showcased shit wrong, I could get out of the deal. Now, I mentioned the verbal agreement because there was a 7-day inspection window from the time that I signed the contract with the young guy who had the contract on the property. And then from there, I would end up signing the purchase agreement on the verbal agreement that I could get this inspection done. And if it came to be that I didn't want to buy the property, then that was it. Well, to say that there was a lot of confusion and a lot of misinformation is an understatement. Now, one thing that I also want to mention as I'm sharing this with you, I've got no ill will toward anybody involved in this. This was just a big mess of confusion that could have ended up with me getting sued. Thank God that I didn't. And for that, there's no ill will at all. Had I gotten sued, I'd probably be feeling some sort of a different way. But this was a big deal. So when I signed the agreement with the young guy, he was the wholesaler well, he was a wholesaler. That's what he was. And even though he worked for the realty company or whatever. So he was a wholesaler for the seller. Now, what I didn't know, didn't understand, I know it pretty well now, and that is, one, when you deal with the wholesaler, be very, very careful of any contracts that you're signing, because what you're signing with that wholesaler is a contract that they're not making with you. You're signing a contract that they made with the seller. And in order for a wholesaler to make a contract with a seller, well, they gotta basically just sell them on the fact of anything. And I know that may sound confusing, but here's where I'm going with it. Young guy wholesaler makes a contract with the seller and that seller's agent. And that contract states that within 30 days, he's gonna find a cash buyer to come in and buy that house. He didn't have a cash buyer. I just popped up out of the blue. And that's usually how it would happen. Now, in the contract that I signed with the young guy wholesaler who had made the contract with the seller and that agent, what I didn't know was, well, how long ago did they make that contract? How far into this 30-day process were they? And I think that they were probably about a week into it, probably a week into it. By time that I came around and I'm signing the contract. Well, in the contract that I'm signing, it says right there that the buyer has a 7-day window to do an inspection. Now, from the time that I signed that contract, I think I got the inspection done in like a little bit more than 7 days. Maybe it was 7 days. I keep saying it might have been 10 days, but I don't even think it was that far. I think it really was like 7 days that I did the inspection. Now, mind you, the young guy is telling me the whole time, and this was the way that he got me to sign the purchase agreement because that was totally different than the contract. The contract was just basically an offer or some shit like that. The purchase agreement was something totally different. So the way that he gets me to sign the purchase agreement, he's like, yo, it's been verbally understood that you're going to get the inspection, and so long as the inspection doesn't showcase anything too crazy, you're going to buy the property. And I was like, yep, that's the deal. But if that inspection, and we talked about that already numerous times, we do the inspection, I've signed everything, the inspection showcases it showcases far beyond what I want to take on. The inspection opens my eyes, hey look, I don't need to get involved in this house. It's way too much. They're not willing to fix anything. The house is being sold as is. Okay, so I tell the young guy, hey, I'm out. I'm not buying the house. The inspection was enough for me to see that. And I even sent him the inspection, $500 inspection that I bought. As far as I knew, I was out of the deal. Now, I was mentioning my Earnest money deposit. I may have mentioned it in a couple of videos, or I know there were like 5 days of filming that I never did anything with those videos. And remember, there was a gap in Joe Does Stuff. Well, this is why. Because there was so much up in the air that I didn't even want to put anything out there because I had no idea how this shit was going to play out. And I was so mad. So mad at myself that I found myself in this crazy situation. This is a situation, I'm not a dummy. This is a situation that could happen to anybody. And I'm going to share with you how confusing all of this shit ended up really being. So, you know, I've said that I was out of the deal for about a week, and I'm curious about my Earnest money deposit. And, you know, there's another flip house that I'm interested in, and I'm already starting to get the ball rolling on that. And hell, by right now, as I'm filming this video, I get that next flip house in like the end of the month, okay? But it's crazy because we're using the same lawyers that the mini mansion was going through. So I called the lawyers and I was like, hey, I'm just concerned about my Earnest money deposit, whether I lost it or I get to keep it. Either way, I'm just trying to find out. And the lawyer's like, well, I don't know what's even going on with this deal. As far as I knew, you were still buying this property. And I'm like, well, that's not happening because I submitted the inspection a week ago. And I told him I wasn't buying the property. And he was like, well, that's not what the contract says. And I'm like, what you mean the contract? Like, what are you talking about? Well, the contract says that you had 7 days to do the inspection, and that time was long gone. I was like, yeah, I know, but I talked with the guy about it, and I was only able to get the inspection done at the earliest availability of the inspector, which was immediately, pretty much. So as soon as I came into the deal, I set up the inspection. I was doing my due diligence. And the lawyer would tell me, as would the other realtors, because I would end up speaking and dealing with them far more than I would end up dealing with the young guy. And it's just because they knew way more than the young guy knew. They were way more experienced with this. One party in particular who helped resolve this entire situation. It's probably confusing as I'm saying all of this, so let me try to just clean this up and say this. When the young wholesaler made the deal with the sellers, part of that deal said 7-day inspection window. Well, that 7-day inspection window had long passed. Oh, it had already passed by the time I came into the deal. And as I'm coming into the deal and I'm seeing that it says 7-day inspection window, I'm expecting that to be from the time that I'm signing that deal. That's not the case. That 7 days was for him. There was no protection for me whatsoever. So then I start getting super mad when I'm realizing this. And then I'm learning from not only the lawyer, but also from the other part, from the seller's realtor team who actually helped get this situation resolved. I learned about what damages are and how I could be sued for pulling out of this deal and not really having a leg to stand on. Yeah, I did an inspection, but so what? Your 7 days been over with. Now, my defense to this was, if this ever went to court, hey, I did my due diligence and I acted as such. I didn't know that my 7 days was over with from the time that I signed that contract. I would have assumed that I would have still had 7 days myself. I didn't know that it was. Can you see how crazy this was? And I was like, why would I even do an inspection if I didn't think that I could do an inspection, right? I submitted earnest money deposit because I was serious. I did inspection because I was serious as well. But on paper, none of that mattered. You remember in the last video when I was talking about going to the contractor class and how important contracts are and how screwed you can get behind them? Well, this is a great example of that. I said, what's the worst case scenario that can come from this deal, me pulling out of this? I sacrificed my earnest money deposit. They said, oh, hell no. Hell no, the seller can sue you for damages. And I'm like, damages for what? Well, like, what did I damage? They said, well, let's just say this. You were going to buy the house for $114,000, which is what I was going to buy the house for. They said, and let's just say now he can't sell the house but for $80,000. You're responsible for the balance between $14,000 and $80,000. That's $34,000. When I heard this, I was snapping, saying, I dare you to take me to court. I dare him to try to sue me. And, I'm not saying this to be boastful. I was really upset, mad, and scared. And even if I didn't have a leg to stand on, I felt so cornered and boxed in this situation that my reaction was, I dare you to sue me, because I acted as if I was within my parameters and doing my due diligence as a potential buyer. I said, and this was just a super confused situation. I was led to believe that I had 7 days to do an inspection. I didn't know that I didn't. I said, and you mean to tell me this dude can now what he can do if he wanted to, and no disrespect at all to the seller, to the owner, to the realtors, to even the young guy. It was a mistake that could have been so bad, but in the heat of the moment, I was losing it. I said, you mean to tell me this dude can sell this house for nothing because he knows he can and then sue me for the balance and I'm on the hook for it? I was so fucking stressed out behind this. And I had no idea how this thing was going to play out. And here's the other kicker too. Mind you, I said that I was out of the deal, a week prior to shit hitting the fan, a week prior to me even hearing it from the lawyer how bad this thing could get. And then the next day, the realtors reaching out to me and us starting to get the ball rolling. It was not until, what's today? Wednesday, Thursday. It was not until like Monday that they even told the seller, the guy that owned the place, I wasn't buying the property. And that was another thing that I was losing my shit about. I said, man, I said 10 days ago that I wasn't buying this. I said, why have we waited so long to tell the seller? And they were like, basically, they didn't want to tell him. They didn't know how to tell him. It's a bad thing to do to tell a seller, hey, guess what? The guy's not buying the house. I guess it was and I'm losing my shit behind this. I'm like, yo, he should have been informed immediately. So, neither here nor there. The young guy, this was his first wholesale deal that got super confusing. No disrespect to him. Thank God this whole situation would get resolved. Okay? Had it been a different story, I'd probably be feeling a totally different way. Another important note to mention is that the actual realtor representing the seller was brand new to realty as well. Now, this brand new realtor would actually have somebody working with them who was the person who mediated this entire situation. And a very special thank you to this person who was able to mediate this situation. and also to the new realtor, and also to the young boy. A thank you to all of them as well, because everybody, once the situation got upside down, everybody was trying to get it corrected, and nobody was trying to see me get sued. I am very grateful for that, even though that's what could have come from this. So I'm very grateful to all parties involved who helped get this situation resolved. I sacrificed my earnest money deposit. I felt like that was the absolute right thing to do. Hey, the owner was left in a screwed up situation. He wanted to offload the house. I just can't do it. The inspection, hey, that's where it was. All parties would end up signing a release agreement from this contract. And that was literally just done yesterday. And I gotta be honest with you, I am so relieved to have that situation over with. You know, the house was one thing itself. It was a huge house, 4,200 square feet. It's a beautiful home. You know, if somebody's got different intentions or maybe more money, it's probably what it would entail. But there was just too many things stacked against me with that particular house, and the inspection only solidified that even more. But I think the most valuable lesson to take from this is, if there's a lesson at all that I hope to be able to pass on to all of you, is when there are more than a few hands in the pot, you got realtors, you got wholesalers and realtors, which was what was involved in this particular deal. Everybody's hungry for the sale. They're going to be pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, trying to get you to buy and get you to buy. And that's what I felt like was taking place. And even with that, no disrespect, they're trying to make the sale. That's their job. But more importantly, when it comes to the wholesaler in general, you got so many people out here trying to get into this wholesaling game because there's so much shit on social media. Hey, you can buy and sell houses without even having a dollar to your name. As the buyer, the guy at the end of the line who's either going to do the rehab or is going to hold, you need to be so leery of these wholesalers who don't really know what they're doing, and more importantly, the contracts. Because I think the most important thing that you should know if you're going to deal with a wholesaler is, have they ever wholesaled before? Do they got some deals under their belt that went okay? Maybe they got some references. That might be something interesting to check out. You need to know, do you have a way out? And how old is this contract that they got between them and the seller? Final thing, the more hands in the pot, the more confusing shit can get. And that's just the way that it is with anything. I'm going to end it on that. I want to know what you guys think of all of this. I'll look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. And next, I'm going to be sharing with you guys flip house number 3. You guys ready to see what we're getting ready to get into next? Well, I can't wait to share it with you. I look forward to talking with you guys again real soon. And until then, peace.